How are you? It's Hayden here, and it's the Man in the Mirror podcast. And it's a show where each week I talk to a male guest and we get into his work, his life, self-care, self-image. I have a little rummage around his bathroom cabinet and find out about some of the products he's into. And I find out about what he thinks about the man that looks back at him in the mirror. Now, this week, I finally get to chat to someone that I've wanted to have on the podcast for a long time. It's Marc-Antoine Barrois. Now, Marc-Antoine is the founder of a brand that's really gained prominence in the last few years. He is a couturier. He started his training in France and makes beautiful tuxedos and shirts. But I guess over the last few years has probably become more well-known, certainly in the UK, for his fragrances. And they've been winning awards left, right and centre and have become so critically well acclaimed. And the fragrances centre on this partnership between Marc-Antoine and the perfumer Quentin Bisch, who is so well regarded and we've talked about many times on the podcast, and he's the nose behind so many incredible fragrances. But there's a particularly special relationship here at play between Marc-Antoine and Quentin, some of which we will discuss. The conversation took place earlier this summer. I went along to the Marc-Antoine Barrois boutique in London, which is in the Piccadilly Arcade. It's a beautiful spot. And they have a little room downstairs for private consultations, and there's a bit of a showroom, but it's also a perfect spot for us to chat and to do the podcast. I got to know Marc-Antoine, I think probably, 3 years ago, something like that. I don't want to say I was the first, but I was certainly one of the early journalists to feature Marc-Antoine, and I ran a feature on him in the magazine The Rake's Gent, and it was a profile piece that I wrote on Marc-Antoine. I think it was certainly one of the earliest features, certainly here in the UK. But we did that interview over the phone, or via Zoom, I think. So we didn't actually do it in person, but Marc-Antoine was so generous and so kind about it, and actually said to the PR that was working the campaign that he would really like to take me to dinner and chat about it further. And I think that really typifies the man, and it typifies his approach with the brand. Marc-Antoine's brother, Quentin, actually runs the UK operation, and he was there for that dinner. I think that was possibly the first time that I met Quentin. But suffice to say, over the last few years, I think that was we had a dinner, and I really liked them. I love hearing about what they do, and they've been very generous with their time, and they've kindly invited me on a couple of press trips since then. I went to the boutiques in Paris, and we went on this amazing trip around the Atelier launch to this French chateau just outside Paris. And then this year we went to Design Week in Milan. So I know, sometimes brands talk about, hey, family, and we're all part of a family. Marc-Antoine Barrois does talk about the Marc-Antoine Barrois family, but somehow it feels more grounded and real, and I feel very lucky to sort of be part of that, certainly here in the UK. It's I know we shouldn't have favourites, but I love the collection. I think each one is very distinct. He took some, bolder risks with Atelier, and then again with Aldebaran taking the fragrance profiles into different directions. But, the work he does with Quentin Bisch, there's such a strong partnership, and, we get to chat about that in the conversation that we had. It's really inspirational, and it's kind of weird how aligned they are, and some of the similarities from their background, which we explore a bit as well. But that partnership has a real synergy, and it is fascinating to explore, and it seems like it's showing no sign of changing anytime soon, and they always want to work together. So it's a brand that I make no bones about. I love it, but I think it comes from something I've talked about quite a lot in the podcast and on my social channels, that a lot of this stuff in fragrance is about relationships. And I think Marc-Antoine and Quentin, his brother, are particularly good at it, and sort of fostering and nurturing people around the brand that they enjoy spending time with, and that want to promote and work with the brand. And I feel very fortunate to be within that fold. And so actually we never, much as we'd spent time together, we'd never had a conversation with the podcast. So we decided to put that right this summer. And it wasn't particularly around a certain release. Obviously, I was there for the Aldebaran product launch in Milan for Design Week, so we talk a bit about that. But really, it was a catch up and to find out more about the man and his inspirations and his working relationships. So I think you're going to hopefully take a lot from this conversation. And as always on Man in the Mirror, there are no adverts. I do have a coffee account, which is at ko-fi/man in the mirror. That's ko-fi/man in the mirror. And any tips there, it's kind of a tipping service. And that the tips would go towards the running costs of doing the podcast free, which are, my editor, uploading to the various distributors and things like that. So I do it anyway because I love it and I get to spend time with friends in the industry like Marc-Antoine. But look, anything you could donate would be really gratefully received. So here we go. It's Marc-Antoine Barrois, the founder of Marc-Antoine Barrois, talking to me, Hayden Williams, on Man in the Mirror. Let's go. Welcome along to Man in the Mirror. It's Hayden here, and I've stepped out of the home studio again, and I'm in Piccadilly, and I'm in the Marc-Antoine Barrois store with Marc-Antoine. Hi, Marc-Antoine, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And we're downstairs, and let me just paint the picture for the listeners. So it's a really beautiful, I guess it's a kind of consultation space, is it? What do you use this space for down here?
We used it at the beginning. We used it as a consultation space, indeed, like to have a private living room downstairs, so that Agnes, our store manager, could come downstairs with a client and take time with people. We use it for masterclasses, but it's also, if you describe the room, it's also a room with a full wall of mirror. So if you're talking about me looking at the mirror, we are there in full
We're in the
mirror.
perfect place. Yeah.
There is a fitting room, and it's the place that was designed initially to host my ready-to-wear collection, which is coming now in stores. So it's...
And we can see one of the shirts hanging up.
One of the shirts for the moment. We have all of it, but we're waiting for the good angles to come through.
Right.
So by the time the podcast will be published, all the shirts will be here.
Fantastic. So it may be that some people are more familiar with the fragrance line, but of course your background is in couture as well. And if I could rewind even further back, you were brought up in northern France, and we've spent some time together before, and we talked together for a feature I did, and I've been lucky enough to spend quite a lot of time with the brand and with you. But so your background is in northern France. Your parents were in textiles, I believe.
Yes, I come from a textile family, but textile in France has not been a successful story in the 70s, the 50s, 60s, 70s. So basically, over 4 centuries, my family was in textile, and it's...
4 centuries, did you say?
Yes, 4 centuries.
Goodness.
So it's been... textile was a big industry in northern France, and until the second half of the 20th century, it was a very, very big industry. But my father didn't make the choice to work in textile. It was not anymore the good thing to do for my family. They all ran out from there when all the factories went bankrupt in the 70s. And I grew up with a father being a teacher with 4 brothers and sisters. And having a happy life there, studying textile because I wanted to go in fashion, but also studying fine arts because that was what was driving me as a kid. Like, I was a kid who dreamt of art, dreamt of exiting from my reality into some other realities.
So. And this is what fascinates me. I think there's that almost perfect combination of a background in craftsmanship and actual skill with textiles and the heritage from your family. But then that combined with such a vivid imagination. And we've talked before about your love of comic books and the fact that there wasn't TV in your household. So you were surrounded by stories and comics and were allowed to let your imagination run riot. Do you think those were the things that helped form who you are and your interest in couture originally?
I don't know if this helped, because if you take this as an ingredient, we are 4 brothers and sisters, and I'm the only one interested in art.
That's true.
The only one interested into creation, and so it's not only this ingredient that makes it, but definitely as a kid growing, as feeling I was different from others, and it helped because it was like when you open a comic book, it's like really easy to flip the pages and get into another universe. It's not costful. It's and you can go from one story to another story, from one universe to another universe. So it really drove me to those fine arts classes where I discovered so many artists and so many people who were own creative universe. And so it was just time for me to create my own.
And the path into fashion and couture, first of all, how did that come about? Because I can imagine, even though you were surrounded by fabric and textiles and things like that in your background, but it must be quite a leap to actually get to work and intern with some of the designers that you got to work with. Was that a big step?
That wasn't easy, because at the beginning, what's happening is my mom has always been sewing our clothes when we were kids. Like my father being a teacher, we were raising 5 kids at home. We didn't have the money to go to the supermarket.
She made everything for you.
So she was making everything, or she was like sometimes repairing the clothes of my cousins, so that she could dress us. But so I've seen her sewing. I learned sewing with her. I've learned pattern making with books. And when it came the time to choose which study you want to do, they didn't have the money to put me in a private school to learn fashion. And so it was getting into the fashion world with everything I had learned by myself, but not with a school. So it was not easy. And when I was looking for an internship, there was only negative answers. But I participated to a fashion contest in 2004. And in this fashion contest, I've met a couturier called Dominique Siro. Dominique Siro was the former assistant of Hubert de Givenchy. He had, 10 years before, he had created his own fashion house to do haute couture after Givenchy stepped down. And he offered me to work with them. So what I was doing, so it was really like no doors were open to me if it was just my resume. But from the moment I showed some creation, like people, he offered me a position. And then after working 2 years with them, I worked with Jean-Paul Gaultier at Hermès. So I had other opportunities, and that was helping me to discover what I wanted to do and to define really what was the DNA I wanted to develop and what was important to me in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of relation to my clients, in terms of style.
And did you get to work quite closely with Jean-Paul Gaultier?
Jean-Paul Gaultier at MS was 1 day a week. It was like we were working full week, but he was there 1 day a week. Jean-Paul is a really, really nice person. So he was very close to us, sometimes really hard when the work was not done correctly, or at least not done as he wanted it to do. But it was so creative, and I see it now in my work. I can be hard sometimes on people when I do think that they did not understand the thing where I thought I expressed it correctly. So I totally understand how it was, but it was really full-time present 1 day a week. So it was really cool to work with him like that, because it's, I think, better to have someone that is maybe there 1 day a week, but completely available, than to have someone who's there all the time, but finally you're scared to go through the door.
Yes. And do you think, if you look back to that time now, was there always something in your mind that was hoping to create your own brand, or did you dare to imagine that might be something that could happen?
No, I think I created my own brand just by mistake.
Really? Why did you say that?
Because I had not done any school, and also I was seeing that when I was designing for others, I didn't have the freedom to do exactly what I wanted to for myself. And I was probably too young when I created my own brand.
When did you start?
I did my first collection. My first collection, I did it in 2004 when I met Dominique Siro. But I created the brand in 2009. 2009, I was 23 years old.
It's very young, isn't it?
It's quite young to create a business and to not only create collections, but also to deal with everything.
To set up the business side,
all the business side. So it was maybe too early, but I did it, and it wasn't easy all the time. And but after all those years, it's a beautiful story, and I'm often talking about the chance I have to be independent today. If I had not done it that early, maybe I would have been more focusing on finding investors to create the brand, and I would not be independent again. I would not be independent today. So,
and I suppose it's easy to look back now and see. We can see from this point. There's a beautiful store in London. There's one in Paris. There's all these amazing two in Paris. Forgive me, two in Paris, and department stores everywhere. But I guess at the beginning, you have to take, and especially being so young, you have to take things very steadily, and as you say, you're independent, so you're kind of learning your craft as you go, without the pressure, perhaps.
Yeah, without the pressure, but still with the economical pressure that I need to make a living.
Yeah,
at the time. So I was hosting my clients at home. I was sewing at home. It was really, really artisanal the first years. Then in 2013, I opened my first store. So 4 years after, I rented a small boutique, and in this boutique, I was sewing downstairs, hosting the clients upstairs in the showroom, making everything. But the sofa of the showroom was sometimes my bed, because sometimes it was not making enough money, so that I was renting my flat on Airbnb and living in the boutique. So it's been growing slowly but slowly, and all the moments were beautiful. Yeah, but sometimes really hard.
And tell me, because again, people from the podcast might be more familiar with the fragrance side of Marc-Antoine Barrois. When did that come into the picture?
I think that started to come in the picture in my mind early 2013 when I opened the store, when I opened the boutique, because the boutique is located in a street which doesn't really smell luxury. It was a street where there was some kebab store, there was some Chinese food store. Right. So it was smelling more food than it was smelling luxury and fabric.
Was that a different location to? Because I've been to that beautiful arcade. Is it?
No, it wasn't this one. It was Budapest. It's still I still own the store now. It's a photo studio now.
Right.
We use it for all our studio pictures production, and also I want to be able to rent it to young designers so that they can afford a cheap studio down in the middle of Paris, so that when we do not need it. But the location was not really great, and I remember from time I was working at Hermès, the day we were working with Jean-Paul, it was at the Faubourg Saint-Honoré, and there was this entrance, Rue Boissy-d'Anglas, where it smelled Hermès. You pass in front of Hermès, and it smells this mix of all the Hermès perfume, but it smells the quality, it smells the magic of the house. And so I knew that at one day I wanted to have an olfactive signature. Was it going to be a perfume or just a home scent or something? I knew about that. But then I was dressing some perfumers sometimes and did not really enjoy the work they were doing. So it was sometimes too old, too powdery.
Yep.
So never said yes to all the opportunities that I had to create a fragrance before. But in 2015, a friend of mine, Bernardo, introduced me to Quentin Bisch, and then it was a creative crush, even a human crush, not a love crush, but a creative crush. I said,
a proper connection.
Meeting twin brother, creative twin brother. It was meeting someone that was not only a perfumer, but who was also, like I am, an artist. And we had this vision on perfume that was not a business vision on perfume. The fact that Quentin works for Givaudan preserves him from the fact he doesn't need to go look for clients even at the time.
Yeah,
he can just focus on his art, and that is something that connected us.
It's such a special alchemy and the relationship you have, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I've certainly, I've been privileged enough to see Quentin with Marc-Antoine together, and he's absolutely spot on. There's this real kinship, and they're a similar age and seem to have a similar outlook, and it's created such magic. We're going to come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Quentin and some of the fragrances, but on the podcast, I love to find out about the guests' bathroom cabinet and products that they use, and sometimes this is an extensive part of the podcast, and sometimes it doesn't last very long because their routine is relatively short. And I wonder with you, Marc-Antoine, do you have certain products that you're loyal to that you use in your morning and evening routine?
So personally, I won't be cheap but I won't be extensive.
Okay, somewhere in the middle. We'll take that.
Basically, on my face, I don't put anything. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm not old enough, or I don't know about it. But I clean my face with a soap bar soap, and that is all. I put lots of water on it.
Any sunscreen? Any SPF or anything?
I do put sunscreen on all summer, not in the winter. Yeah. And I've recently met someone who was telling me, every morning, 365 days a year, I put sunscreen on. This is not my case because I fear always that the sunscreen is going to put some like yellowish on all my white shirts, and I'm wearing white shirts all the time. But this I'm using like a La Rose stick, which is not that expensive, and it's quite clean in terms of composition. So it's what I use.
Yeah, because you don't want things that are super fragranced either, do you?
No, I don't want things fragrance, and I care about the environment, and I care about my skin too.
Yeah.
So it's still, but I don't need to put cream on my face and so on. But I really care about one thing because it's my work tool. I care about my hands. So every morning and sometimes again in the day, I put some Augustine's butter, the hand cream of Augustine's butter,
right?
Which is not cheap, but it's super good because it's not perfumed and it's super efficient, and I really love it.
That's a good product to talk about. And in terms of your relationship with fragrance, Marc-Antoine, I imagine it's always interesting when there's brand founders or perfumers and how they approach fragrance. Because obviously me, as you know, I'm lucky enough to be sent lots of things and I get to try lots of fragrances, but it's still a pleasure and it's a passion. It's not, I'm not a brand founder, but are you always thinking about fragrances that you work with, or are you able ever to switch off and wear different fragrances for pleasure? How do you approach wearing fragrance?
My approach is really maybe not so unique, but not so trendy at the moment, where people tend to collect fragrances. And I really consider my fragrance as a signature, and the most comfortable fragrance I can wear is B683, the first fragrance I created. Yeah. I'm wearing it every day, and sometimes I'm trying to wear another fragrance of mine. Never tried again to wear another fragrance that is not mine. But
so you don't ever wear anything?
No, and I basically even don't go smell the fragrance other people are doing. I consider that it's, in a way, if I want to remain fresh and remain open to the proposals that Quentin will make me when he creates new accord and makes me say, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And does this express something to you? Would you like to do something, that we do something with it? If I want to be pure in my way to accept it without trying to copy anything, without trying to be inspired by anything, and trying to create something unique and to take risk without knowing I'm taking a risk, in a way, I don't want to smell what other people are doing.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And it's not that I don't want to smell other fragrances. I smell it all the time because I love people. So I meet people, they're wearing a fragrance. So, but for me, there are two things. There's a fragrance and a perfume. I don't know if it makes sense, but the fragrance is the thing that is in the bottle. And for me, the perfume is the mix between
with the person.
Yeah. So I smell perfumes all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. Well, thank you. That's really good to hear about how you approach perfume. Let's return to your relationship with Quentin. And we've spoken before about how this works and this alchemy. I believe you don't tend to talk so much about ingredients when you work with Quentin. It's much more about feelings and emotion and dynamics. Is that how you brief him on new fragrances?
Yes, I don't talk ever about ingredients, and sometimes I learned about the ingredients only once the perfume is finished. It's really, a perfume is not about ingredients.
No,
it's really, in my ways, a perfume is a fragrance is a magical ingredients. It's a magical object, a magical creation. And sometimes, like two ingredients together might make something that doesn't smell at all. None of those ingredients smell something bad. So one of the reasons I don't believe into made-to-measure perfumery, I do made-to-measure clothes. So people were maybe expecting me for making made-to-measure perfumes at the beginning.
Something that's bespoke perfume for some,
and I don't believe into it because it's so difficult, so hard to find the right balance and to work so hard. Like, it's not like you can take a base and just add a little bit and it's going to be wonderful. No, it can, but it can also not be. And so ingredients is really something which is part of the expertise of Quentin Bisch.
Yes.
He's a genius and is able to, he masterize it. And also he's humble towards ingredients too. He knows sometimes, tells Marc-Antoine, I would like to do some trials. I don't know, I have some ideas, but I don't know if it's going to do good or not. It should, but it doesn't, it might not. And sometimes a few days after, so do you have new trials? No, it didn't do anything. It didn't give anything.
Yeah.
So sometimes he think about something and his mind think, oh, I think this or this will help. And it doesn't.
And it doesn't. So he approaches it in a humble way.
His talent is to have a relationship with the ingredients and a relationship with the inspiration, which is really humble and which is really always working, creating new accord, trying. It's really about trying all the time. And he told me once, he says, my nose never stops. Like I can sleep, you can close your eyes, Marc-Antoine, but I cannot close my nose. So I try to explain, even if I close my eyes, I don't stop dreaming and creating things in my head, and this I cannot stop either. But it's basically the same thing. So when we talk together about a fragrance, and there is not a brief as other brands can do, is to discuss together, and me to tell him, well, this energy or this florals could be a good way, and if we can do it differently with some florals full of light, that would be amazing. And Quentin to tell me that would be good, because that you have planets, you could have stars now if it's full of light. After that, I talk about energies, I talk about emotions.
Yes.
Telling him, well, if we talk about Aldebaran, the last release, the last fragrance we released. Aldebaran, when I smelled it at first, it was meant to be a sunny flower, like some very luminous flower, and I told him, well, Quentin, if I close my eyes, this one I don't see the sun. I see a moon, I see a star, I see something in the night, and it expressed for me some kind of optimism. The light calling you and telling you, come, it's going to be better. And so this is the type of discussion I can have with him, telling him this so that it can continue, and also telling him, I really love it. Yeah. So maybe do not change too much.
I think there's an honesty about that, which is quite rare and quite refreshing, in that you know what you know what you don't know. You allow people who are the specialists to do their thing, but also as a brand founder and a creative director, there is also a real skill in being able to evaluate, and you know what you like, and I'm sure you're quite direct about, as you say, the different mods. I like this one, I don't like this one.
Yeah, and I don't try to explain why I don't like something.
Yeah.
When I don't like something, it's just I don't like it. It's don't try to make me. It's I don't take this as the respect we have towards each other is not to take any. In French, there's a word saying taking a little facet to, like a little tool to say the good things.
Oh, okay, right.
Or the bad things.
Yeah.
No, we are straightforward.
Say it straight.
And he tells me everything straight. I tell him everything straight. And that helps us a lot. So I like it or I don't like it. It's sometimes really important to be able to say it. My parents told me one thing: if you want to love others, you need to know to love yourself before.
Yeah.
If I want my people to love my perfumes, I need to love it myself.
Yes.
And the magic about the relationship with Quentin Bisch is that, for the moment, 100% of the time, when I love it, he loved it too.
Thank goodness for that. I think it's again, I'm lucky to get to talk to lots of brand founders and perfumers, but I can't think of a relationship like the one that you have with Quentin. And as you say, he's hugely in demand, yet each time there's a new Marc-Antoine Barrois fragrance, and you're obviously talking all the time, he wants to do it. And I think it's something really special. And I've been lucky enough to hear you two talk together, and it does seem like you think in a very similar way, and it's a very special relationship, isn't it?
Yes, we have a similar vision on life. So we don't have the same taste on everything. Sometimes we have things to teach each other, and especially he taught me how to say no to people. Yeah, Quentin knows much better than me how to respect himself.
That's good.
But yeah, with the time, it's like my first perfume is named after the book of the Little Prince, B683, because the Little Prince has been living on the asteroid B612, and I'm born October 683. But this book is fundamental to me. It's like, in this book, the Little Prince coming on Earth is meeting a fox and asking him, "Oh, could we be friends?" And the fox tells him, "No, we cannot. why can't we be friends? Because you need time to become friends. Every day you need to come a step forward. Well, after 10 years of working together, I became closer and closer to Quentin Bisch.
Yeah.
That's how you create a relationship. That the time, the trust, but sometimes even we understand our silences.
Yes. So you can't make it happen automatically. You say it grows and it develops. Yeah.
It doesn't. And sometimes people are asking me, "What are you planning to work on with another perfumer, or would you like to work with another perfumer?" Because that's the trend that's how it is for all the brands. They all give a brief to one perfumer, then to another perfumer, and let them work because they want to produce lots of fragrances. I'm not in a hurry, so I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But also, when you do this, you don't have the time to create a relationship with a perfumer, because the perfumer, as soon as the fragrance is finished,
moved on to something else.
And you are moving to another perfumer. And I'm sorry, I can meet a lot of people. I care for a lot of people. I think every person I meet, I'm very sincere in the way I can listen to that person and spend maybe it's a 1 minute, maybe it's a 10 minutes, maybe it's an hour, but let's make this hour correct and make this hour as respectful as possible. And I enjoy it, sincerely enjoy those meetings, but I cannot have more than 10 friends. Friendship is something where you give so much to your friends, so it's not like a...
No, I totally get that. And thinking about the last few years, I mean, we got to know each other probably around the time of, maybe it was Atelier or just before that, or Ensalade, I think. And I've been to some various Marc-Antoine Barrois events in different parts of the world, and I've seen the evolution of this brand. And I guess, I mean, looking at this year and going to Milan Design Week and for Mission Aldebaran, it feels like the brand is playing on a bigger canvas now with, bigger paints, and the event was so fantastic. And quite rightly, you won the best installation at the Milan Design Week. Does it feel to you that the brand is stepping up and there's sort of more to play for now? How do you feel that, or are you still trying to keep it in the same way you always have done?
Well, I do try to keep it as sincere and authentic as it's always been, and this is really important to me. But indeed, I see the desirability of the brand has grown so much. Sometimes I'm thinking, what can we do to make the brand accessible to people? What can we do to make the brand in a good way? Like I cannot satisfy myself to find the brand on the grey market on one country or another country. And typically, when some people are telling me, "Oh, we bought your perfume on the grey market, we bought your perfume in this country," and I'm saying, "Well, we're not selling to this country."
Right.
Then it triggers my mind saying, "Well, maybe we should find a decent partner there in this country, so that we could make the fragrance available, so that people do not have to go towards grey markets, which very often is much more expensive than my fragrances should be." Indeed, I see the desirability, and the brand is growing a lot. Milan was something probably much too big for us. It was just my desire to express myself as an artist, and I wanted to do it like this.
It was a fantastic event. So it was a multi-sensory, for people who didn't read about it. So there was an installation that was something that worked with your sense of smell and sound and touch, and it was all about going from the darkness into the light. It was fantastic, and it involved all these different artisans and musicians, and it was fantastic. But yeah, it felt like...
But it was an art installation, so it was not relating only to the fragrance.
Exactly.
In a way, it's my way to be able to dream big and to share my big dreams with people. But it's sometimes it's hard to tell my teams who are saying, "Well, we did this, so we should do more and more and more." No, at some point, let's try to do correctly what we have to do. And this was Marc-Antoine Barrois, the artist, expressing himself.
Yeah.
And you are working for the perfume part of the company, so focus on doing well what we are doing, what we should do. My biggest fear is to disappoint, and of course it happens sometimes, and sometimes people come to a store and they're not well received, and because our partner in this store that day was maybe not feeling well or anything. I always feel sad in those days when I heard that. My biggest dream and desire is that we manage to offer the same experience everywhere in the world, and a great experience to people coming to discover our fragrances. And so that's also the reason why I always invite people to come to our stores when they can, because it's even if they are used to buy our fragrances in all the stores or online or anywhere else.
It's a different thing here,
It's a different experience. Yeah. Coming to a store is also discovering a bit more about the creative universe of the global creative universe of my brand. And if it's my brand, it's also my creative universe. So I put lots of myself in the stores.
And you have to, well, you don't have to, but as you mentioned, the fact that the brand is becoming interesting to people all over the world means that you have to do lots more travel. I know you were in Southeast Asia this summer. Was it Thailand you went to?
Yes, I traveled more, but I don't enjoy so much traveling alone, so that I make it as short as possible, so that when I can travel with my husband and my kids, I can really enjoy it. Traveling is something you enjoy when you can share it with people you love. So,
totally.
I do my best. I was this earlier. During 10 days, I did Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Shanghai, Beijing, and in Xiamen. So quite an extensive trip in Southeast Asia, but it's important too, because it's also respecting our partners to go there and not to say, okay, we're happy to bill you some perfumes and you get it. No, I feel I have a responsibility to be there to communicate on the brand and it's a perfume.
So they can hear direct from you.
And a perfume is. A Marc-Antoine Barrois perfume is typically not something you buy on a shelf. It's something you buy because it's a dream object. It's an emotion. So if it needs to be an emotion, that means I need to meet the people who are selling it to be able to share what I'm sharing with you today, but to share what's the essence of the brand, so that it can be not only a classical sales associate trying to make numbers, but to be someone that loves the brand and that try to make people love the brand.
And I think that's much more meaningful for the store staff and for customers, if they've actually had the experience of hearing from the brand founder about the provenance and the creativity of the brand. It makes such a difference. But I can totally appreciate that for you, it means more travel and more time away from your friends and family, and you have young children and a husband, so it's difficult, isn't it, to sort of try and satisfy all the different moving parts.
Well, I think from the moment you try to do your best, there's no guiltiness. And
it's a good way.
I think I try to find the right balance where I spend really 10 days a month as would be a joke, but as a slave of my company, doing whatever is needed. Yeah. But when I do it to the best of my ability, and I do it correctly. And the rest of the time, I can be more creative. I can be with my children, which indeed are 3 children under 4 years old. So it's and I can also rest sometimes, because to be creative, you need to
reset,
to have your mind not only polluted by all the problems, but also free of seeing the beauty of the world and being able to share it.
And we talked at the beginning about your parents and the family, and it feels to me that that's still an important part of the Marc-Antoine Barrois story, because your brother is involved in the brand, and it even though we talked already about it's getting bigger and more ambitious, and these incredible things are happening, but it still feels like it's a small company that has real family values.
It does, because I do have those values, and I really realized earlier this month, again, when I came back from Southeast Asia, I went straight to my parents, where I had the chance to spend 4 days with my 4 brothers and sisters. Quentin was there. Quentin is the brother Quentin Barrois is the brother I work with in England. So he's in charge of the UK subsidiary, and is doing
a great job.
He's indeed doing a great job here. I'm very proud of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And but both Quentin and we're making great livings and making it. My other brothers and sisters, they're all working as teachers. So they are not
like your dad,
like my dad, and so they don't have the same life as we do. They have a great pride into what we do, Quentin Barrois and I, but they live a total different life. And though, when we get together, we have the same pleasure to live those moments together and to enjoy seeing our kids playing together. And really, the values my parents have given us, have taught us, are really the best value I want to transmit to my children. And the best value I want to transmit to people is the most important thing in life is really the people you love, and not the thing you have, and not the people you see in your working life. Like I can meet really important people. I meet celebrities constantly. I like them. I like everyone I meet, and I think.
But they don't get any special status for you, no.
But the true essence of life is really being able to spend beautiful moments with the people you love.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, the name of the podcast, Marc-Antoine, is Man in the Mirror. So I'm always interested in what the guest thinks about the man that looks back at him, perhaps when he's spending a bit of time doing his morning and evening routine. How do you feel when you look in the mirror at what looks back at you?
Well, with the time, I don't look at myself so much in the mirror. I don't know, it's because I'm getting old and I don't want to see the wrinkles, or I don't want to see the white hairs popping in. But no, sometimes it happens to me. I'm thinking, oh, why am I already walking? I didn't even look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
But typically when I look at what I've done over the years, when I look at myself and as a happy dad with 3 kids, 3 healthy kids, as with a beautiful enterprise, beautiful brand, people who, like, there's even the company some beautiful values of respect. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of what I've done. It would be fake humility to not recognize this. And
that's important too, I think, to recognize when you have good things in your life, and to enjoy that.
There's one thing, but my definition of happiness is to be happy with what you have. You don't need more. You can be happy. Let's see. We have some very, very poor people in situations where they don't even have food to eat, and they're happy because of all this thing, because they have things they enjoy.
Yeah.
And you have some very rich people and very
have material things.
People.
Yeah.
They feel to have everything they need in life, and they're not happy because they want more. So it's not a question of having what you have, but being able to look at what you did and to say to look at yourself. No, there's this pride. It's definitely something that feeds me too, because sometimes I miss energy. And if I look at that, it's something that gives energies. Typically, one thing happened earlier this year. I went to India, and India is really a country where it's an experience.
I've never been.
Everyone was telling me, "Are you ready to go to India? Are you ready?" And I was thinking, "Why?
What happened?
My kids were born in Colombia. I've traveled to Southeast Asia many times.
Yeah.
I've traveled lots of countries in the world, and everywhere was, in a way, the American dream is everywhere."
Yeah. And did you go to India for work, or was it a holiday?
No, I went there for work.
Yeah.
But globally, everywhere you go, you see those big neons.
Yeah.
You see, there's this in every country in development. There is really, even in China, this imaginary of the American road, and you find Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. So you recognize these Western things.
You recognize all these Western things.
Yeah.
And in India, it was indeed mind-blowing in the fact that it's not at all like this.
Really?
It's very different. It's
Where were you in India?
I was in Mumbai.
Yeah.
But their culture is so different. Their way to live together is different. Their way to consume less or to recycle is different. At every level, it's different. So you go to a world which, for me, India is another world in our world. And you go there and you see your name written on the doors saying perfume Marc-Antoine Barrois. And then there is this pride to say, wow, people can go even in India, where it's so different, and still see my perfume, see my name. It's not something that happens to many times, to many people. It's many people live in this, their name is written on their paper, their name is written on their mailbox, and seeing your name written, it
must be very strange.
It's strange in a way, but it's not something I didn't do my work to achieve this.
Yeah.
That's not, I didn't create the brand to achieve this. There was not a super ego that was asking, write my name bigger than the others. But still, seeing it is kind of the proof that there is a success.
Yes,
and
something tangible and real.
And that if it's there, that's because it also makes some people happy there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's...
I love that.
Me looking at the mirror is pride.
And finally, Marc-Antoine, what are the things that make you happy and bring you joy, perhaps outside of the workplace?
In the workplace, there's plenty of moments, but
I'm sure.
Outside of the...
when you have some free time.
Free time is not often because the free time is taken by those happy moments brought by my kids. I love my husband and I'm enjoying plenty of happy moments with him. But really, we both agreed in 2021 when the twins were born that it was difficult to talk about happiness before, and true happiness really happened after that. So I respect fully people who do not have children and who do not want to have children. But
it was important to you.
You know about it too. You're not in this case. Children bring something very different to life. And, it helps you also staying down to earth, grounded, and yes, I'm trying to raise them to make them happy adults one day.
Well, I'm sure you will. Marc-Antoine, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon. And I know you were in Harrods yesterday doing an event. And here in the UK, the brand goes from strength to strength, and it's available in Harrods and Selfridges, and of course this beautiful store that we're in today in the Piccadilly Arcade, which is the Marc-Antoine Barrois store. So I'm going to put some more information on the products Marc-Antoine mentioned, and of course the fragrances. They'll be in the show notes. But once again, Marc-Antoine, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you very much. It was always my pleasure to share this.
See you soon.
See you.
My thanks to Marc-Antoine. I'm so grateful to him for spending some time with me. He's a very busy man, and he took some time out this summer to chat to me on the podcast, which was fantastic. As I mentioned during our conversation, it's so gratifying to see the strides the brand is taking and how it's gaining in popularity all around the world. The fragrances, of course, each new one brings a new audience and more people talking about this brand. But also I noticed over the last 6-12 months, more people on red carpets at premieres and on catwalks wearing Marc-Antoine Barrois tuxedos or shirts. So all sides of the business working so well, and still a proudly independent brand and doing particularly well here in the UK. You can find it now in Selfridges and Harrods, as well as Marc-Antoine Barrois' own store in Piccadilly Arcade. Yeah, fantastic. And I think, what I took from the conversation as well was that I really appreciate that Marc-Antoine is very clear and honest about how he works with fragrance. He's not one of these founders that slightly overclaims their role in a sense that, he's very open about the fact that he's not a fragrance expert. But I think the key thing that he brings is his taste, and that applies across the whole brand. That's his USP. He's also very clear about the fact that he knows what he likes, he knows what he doesn't like. He doesn't really want to talk in terms of, during the development process, in terms of notes and ingredients. He knows very, very, in a very sure way whether he likes it or not. And I think that's what being a founder is. There's someone who's got to be the ultimate arbiter and the person that decides if it's a goer or not. And of course, he works in harmony with Quentin Bisch, but Marc-Antoine is ultimately the founder and the person that has to carry the commercial decisions. But yeah, I think it's one of those very nebulous terms, isn't it? Taste. But I think whatever it is, I think Marc-Antoine Barrois has it in spades. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you want to find out more about the Marc-Antoine Barrois brand, they're on Instagram at Marc-Antoine Barrois, and that's MarcAntoineBarrois. That's at Marc-Antoine Barrois, and the website is marcantoinebarrois.com. Marc-Antoine himself has his own Instagram channel, which is M.A. Barrois, which is MABARROIS. So that's his personal account. You can follow him there. As I mentioned before, there are 2 stores in Paris. There's one here in London in the Piccadilly Arcade, as well as in Harrods and Selfridges, and of course online. So there's plenty of places you can go and try the Marc-Antoine Barrois fragrances if you haven't already. And I'm sure you'll find one that you will fall in love with, as I did. There's quite a few, but I particularly love Ganymede and Onslaught. And for me, fragrance isn't about, oh God, I get so many compliments I genuinely feel it as something that I wear for myself. But that all said, if me or my wife Ali wears Encelade or Ganymede, particularly Ali loves a Ganymede, and it is one of those fragrances that has such a unique DNA that lots of people comment and say how great it is, which is always a nice thing, isn't it? So yeah, do get along to one of those stores if you can and try and sample some of the Marc-Antoine Barrois fragrances. If you want to follow me on the socials, I'm at Man in the Mirror Pod on Instagram and at You Smell Great, What Is It on TikTok. And there's also an Instagram channel of the same name, at You Smell Great, What Is It? Drop me a line if you want to suggest any future guests or if you've got anything to say about the shows. It would be great to hear from you. So thank you to Marc-Antoine, and thank you to you as always. I really appreciate you listening and for all your feedback. And I'll see you next time on Man in the Mirror. Until then, take care.